of April. GM. Monday. 15th of April. Panic selling over the weekend is done, yeah. And the war never eventuated, or whatever fucking propaganda was being spread. People panicked, sold their coins cheap, and here we are. So, if this is your first time, welcome to Bullshit PSYOP Moves. The goal in a bull market is not to sell until you are sure that the top is in per your system. Now, I don't think we necessarily just go up only from here, but we have marked a bottom, I would say, in many of these coins. You could see several of them that came back into 200-day moving average in particular. These will mark bottoms, I'm almost sure. Whether it goes up, down, chops around a bit, I don't know. But just looking at any coins that are around this area, they'll do either something like that, or maybe they'll react a bit stronger. I don't suspect that they'll go much lower, but they might form some sideways bases along here, anywhere in this area. Remember, the bottom is not one tick, right? You don't have to catch the absolute bottom. You're trying to find a general area at which price has bottomed. Because then if you're correct in that bet, the risk reward is excellent for any strong coins. Not saying necessarily say is one. Say is okay, but you know that I'm just making a point. Spot premium is back heavily. This is Coinbase trading at 66,450 and the perp exchange is trading $150 lower. The dislocation is fucking enormous. And let that just... Anyway, I did enough ranting and trading analysis over the weekends, but I hope this serves as yet another reminder not to panic and sell. Now, you don't panic and sell during the fear-driven sell-off, right? If you're holding spot, you're not using leverage. You do not sell when things look really bad, whenever there's a lot of negativity and pessimism and everyone thinks it's terrible and it's going lower and it's going lower and it's worse and it's bad. You don't do that. But now, after that's done and price is bouncing, if you want to sell here because whatever, there's a structure break or you just want to take off some profit or you think that something bearish has shifted, now's the time to do it. It doesn't be right here, maybe it's here, maybe it goes a little bit higher. But now this is the part where the people who are panicking down here think now that it's just going to fucking moon and to all-time high. No, I definitely wouldn't sell Bitcoin. Bitcoin went down like 6%. The rest of the market collapsed. Bitcoin is clearly strong. Stronger than it's ever been. More demand than it's ever had. And may very well use that as a springboard to all-time high. But if you had an altcoin that you were trading, I don't know, what alts were moving last week? I know Pepe was one. Like say you had Pepe, right? And up until Pepe lost that level, this was pretty bullish in terms of a consolidation forming, right? There's a low down here with some support, and there's the squiggle that I was talking about, right? Pepe comes down into this area, consolidates sideways for a little bit, and you'd expect to see maybe a sweep of the lows, a reclaim, and then moon. But then you saw this move over the weekend, a big high volume breakdown right through support. It's now back testing it. And you think, well, actually there's a good chance that Pepe fails here and has to form its range lower. Maybe even go all the way back down before eventually having a run again. Well, this is where you sell then. You sell the bearish retest of the broken structure. Right? You don't panic and sell on the way down here. Absolutely. Sell up here. If you think that previously you were holding Pepe because you wanted this 6 area, 0.006, you expected that to hold and it didn't hold, and you think now because that's broken, there's a good chance it drifts down, sure. And that will happen to a lot of coins. Not saying Pepe specifically, but unless some of these start to reclaim their levels pretty quickly, you probably will see some more downside. So if you see Pepe getting like that, well, then it's all good. Then we're looking at a rounded bottom to form with a big sweep driven by fear in the middle of the weekend. If that happens, moon. But if not, we can easily drift lower, spend more time chopping. Look at a total 3 across the total cap. This is absolutely not the place to be selling. Right, if you're zoomed out, what has happened? It's retested this level from early March on the nuke when Bitcoin hit all-time high, flushed down, rallied up to new highs, set a bit of a distribution top up here, kind of a semi head and shoulders, and then strong fear-driven sell-off, huge sell-off, big liquidation event, right back into support. And I suspect that we drift back down towards this at some point. That would be the typical, back down for like a third test. Or we start to reclaim probably this level that it touched on the way. I think somewhere around there. Right, so either we get a really strong move and it's able to reclaim here, and that's where it builds from, or we come back down for a second sweep and test. There's obviously an alternative where total 3 is done and it unwinds all the way back down here, but I don't think so. Judging by the strength of this reaction, I would say a second test of those lows would be what you would expect to see. Looking at the weeklies, since we've now had the weekly close, got a really nice end to the week. A nice weekly close with a decent deep wick. For the total 3, close back above the bands. For Bitcoin, close with a nice long wick as well. That's showing plenty of demand at that 60k area. That's once, twice, 3 times we've hit that 60k area, held up every time. It's just pushing Bitcoin now into more of a compression. So you expect if we spend this week or next week trading inside of this, that the next move could be explosive. This is not behaving the way it behaved back in 2021 when we had these distributions, right? There was a lot more volatility in both of these. Bitcoin's volatility is actually very low at the moment. And the big one though is this week, because that's 2 red weeks, but they both have wicks. That's 2 red weeks, 2 attempted sell-offs that have held and not went lower. So the fact that those 2 red weeks have held would tell me that unless we get a red follow through this week, there's no bear market coming. Because that's what it would be, right? If we break down a big red week below here, down into the 50s, that's where you're looking at potential for one of these sort of mini bear markets. A proper sell-off, have to reaccumulate before going higher, or even maybe it's all over. Which again, I don't think that it's all over, but price will guide that. And absolutely, make no mistake, Bitcoin needs to hold this 60k level, right? Anything more than just a wick down, if there's a deep red candle down into the high 50s, I know people are calling for this like they want it. Careful what you wish for. That's not what you want. Not with the amount of buying that's gone on up here, not with the structure Bitcoin has, not with the ETF flows. That will put every single ETF buyer underwater since March. And then that really does look like, oh, they've been dumped on, distributed on, and it's over for quite a while, because you'd have to fall back, find a new level, find an area where buyers are actually willing to step in again. And then is it going to push past all-time high the 3rd time? 4th time, really? So for the momentum, chopping sideways for a few weeks in here would be good. Pushing lower is going to extend the bull market massively. So in either way, there's positives. If Bitcoin did do that, if it dropped back to 58, I think it then goes probably to 45. It probably just fills in all of the ETF move as they're forced to unwind from their first big leg up. That would also need to have some kind of big risk off regime in the market, which would have to be something like Fed driven or a real contraction of global liquidity, not just a couple of weeks around tax season like we're having, an actual noticeable shift. Again, I don't see any of that happening, but the point is people think that, oh, let's get a nice deep dip. Look with your eyes at what's happening. There have been 3 attempts, all-time high touch, right? All-time high touch, attempt to nuke. Touch 73, attempt for a deep correction. And then war-driven panic, attempt to nuke. The fact that these are all holding tells you that we do not want to go below 60. You do not want price to go below 60. Because I don't think if it goes below 60, there's just going to be a quick shakeout. It's going to be less than ideal for what people want to see. And so the longer it stays up here, consolidate and chopping, all good. Of course, we can come lower, right? We can wick down, we can touch these levels, we can make it look bad. What you want to keep your eyes on are the weekly chart. If you see an actual week follow through, like here was a 2021, we had a red selling week, closed with a bit of a wick, held a band. The very next week, red and unable to put in any kind of reversal. Following week, it all just collapsed, right? So that's why it's so important. If this big red selling week, which closed a nice long week, is followed up by a green week, a sideways week, or even just a small red week but no deep push, that's a good sign. You ideally want to see Bitcoin just trade within this weekly range. So I don't think, my expectation, Bitcoin doesn't go below 60 and doesn't go above 72 this week. I think it stays within that. And we have an inside week, probably another one the following week, and then we'll see from there. Because when you get, typically, when you get these kind of moves that go both ways, right? Remember, it was Monday, we took out the highs, and then by Saturday, we'd taken out the lows, especially if you look on Perp Exchange, you can see more clearly with stop losses. So from Monday, we took out the highs of this consolidation. By Sunday, we took everything out. And when you get this type of week that has failed breakouts on both sides, so fail to go higher, fail to go lower, big volatility, lots of volume, lots of liquidations, massive flush. Now there's a huge spot premium returning. This is going to put the market into a very indecisive phase. And that's how it leads to kind of choppy conditions. And that's where you're going to see Bitcoin performing what I was talking about on Weekly Outlook. So check out Weekly Outlook if you want a deeper dive into it. But that's daily levels, GM. And I'll see you all later on the live stream. GM, GM, GM.